Okay, everybody, welcome back. Hope you had a great break and you had the opportunity to visit all the booths outside and maybe make some new friends. But now we're going to move forward with our next speaker. That's Ashleigh Powell, and she is a vibrant native Caymanian information security professional. She holds a Bachelor of Business Administration in Cybersecurity, summa cum laude, from the University of Texas at San Antonio, as well as CompTIA Network Plus certification, and a University of Cape Town certificate in data analysis. She has had her work on digital forensics published in the Studies of Big Data book series. So please allow me to welcome Ashleigh Powell to the stage. Social media, friend or foe?
Okay, can you guys hear me? Good? Good. All right, morning everyone. How are we all enjoying BSides so far? Good, good. So like she said, my name's Ashleigh, and as a Gen Z millennial on the cusp type of girl, obviously, naturally, I would present on social media. So naturally, we all know it, we all enjoy it, sometimes persons more than others, but in this time of prioritizing risks, where does your social media posture stand? So love it or hate it, social media has become a pillar in our lives today. Social media world has become just that, right? Its own world. Some people create different personas for their online presence. Some people create a more outgoing personality. Some people will be a business or even something like an animal, right? It's almost like this never ending game of grown-ups playing pretend. But that doesn't mean it's all fun and games, right? Social media can have its perks, and you can build real connections with people or gain new skills, or you can even sustain that business. Social media really is its own world, and because of this, we must assess what it means to safeguard ourselves in all aspects, just as we would safeguard ourselves, your wealth, and your family in the physical world. Your online presence grows every day or changes every day with every click, just as your physical being grows and changes every day. Social media can be used against you or your business, and you may question your privacy while others take advantage of your publicly available data. Social media will live amongst us for the foreseeable time to come, so we must consider more seriously the impacts of this secondary universe as it affects ourselves, our friends, our family, our children, and especially our future. Now, there are, of course, the traditional threats of malware present on social media, but where isn't there malware nowadays? And so I won't be focusing on that today. Instead, I would like to emphasize the risk to you and your person. So, personal privacy has become a big topic in recent years. When social networks were first formed, everyone was all about sharing everything that they could. People post about how they're feeling towards a certain situation, or they post about where they are in that moment and who they're with. Many people still post this revealing information on daily social media posts. There's actually this entire realm of social media influencers that profit from sharing such experiences with their social networks. And those are some big followings. We can become invested in their lives, and we feel that we can relate to their experiences or find similarities in different scenarios. And this may very well be beneficial to us as a coping mechanism or something that we can help navigate a situation that is being experienced. However, oftentimes you will see and hear about those same influencers speaking on privacy or actually its lack thereof. They may feel invaded when out in public or just express that they are sharing very personal details with what could be millions of people online. Furthermore, information privacy has also become a topic of interest within social networks. Persons are becoming more skeptical about what permissions are granted to apps on their phones and what apps have access to what other areas of their phones, such as messages or the camera. But ultimately, most people will give in and just accept without really reading the fine print. They just want to get what's best out of the app, the best experience, even if that means something suspicious. That is until they find out that their information is being sold or it's involved in a breach, or ironically, they usually find out these things through other social media posts. These scenarios must now be treated more seriously as legislation is created for digital privacy and data protection. For example, GDPR seeks to protect the personal information of all EU citizens, whether they're residing in the EU or not. Social media platforms collect vast amounts of personal information about its users, and these users expect that their information will be safe and protected, and that they can choose what is visible to others on their platform from their profile security settings. However, consideration must also be given to potential data breaches. Social media accounts are often targeted by attackers, and if they get lucky, that information, or sometimes even that same password, can be used for more critical accounts like online banking. We're also seeing similar laws being proposed for reasons of online safety. Most recently, for example, are the Digital Services Act and the Digital Market Act, which seek to provide a safer digital online space. These new rules aim to instill more responsibility within online service providers and create a level playing field for competition. As more companies seek to strengthen their online presence and offerings, these types of policies will become more prevalent. Your business must be able to identify its compliance requirements and ensure safety for its customers as it develops. On the contrary, there's also legislation that's been in effect since the beginning of the digital boom, such as the Child Online Privacy Protection Act. This rule was designed to protect children under the age of 13 by placing control over their information into the hands of their parents. You know those annoying little pop-up messages that like tick the box and acknowledge that you're over a certain age? Yeah, those ones. We knew, and we still know, and we also continue to acknowledge that the digital world requires regulation, but enforcing it can always be a tricky task. How do you know that that user is really over the age of 18? The security and privacy risks associated with social media still is this sort of gray area for users and businesses alike for now. However, these rules and more to come or be amended will continue to drive the administration of online platforms, and it's definitely something that we should keep in mind as we continue to grow into this new digital age. Another topic that has been brought to the forefront recently is cyber warfare. With countries and businesses seeing more and more digital transformation, this threat has become very real. For example, the invasion of Ukraine has created much fear around expected cyber attacks across the globe. And whether in retaliation or in support, it's almost mutually assured destruction. And let's make no mistake, cyber warfare is just as lethal as physical war. And social media plays a big role here as well. Organized crime units are taking to social media for recruitment. After all, who better to target than young adolescent minds? There are anonymous chat rooms that young adults can join to interact with persons around the world without having to download software or even use a credit card. However, before they know it, these individuals become invested in a group or someone they meet with ulterior motives. Terrorist groups sometimes practice culture jamming or political jamming to popularize pro-terrorist messages, and social media users become attracted to these messages by the perception that they're facetious. It's very easy to forward a meme to a friend or pass it along to someone else who then passes it along to someone else, and soon enough it's gone viral. This flow of communication can then give extremist groups more attention and influence as they use social media to display their beliefs and ideologies or other messages and content about their activities. Warmongering and other political tactics such as propaganda fuel the disputes and can even create more tension. Very soon the threats become real and people become engulfed in these radical movements. The answer then is to filter social media. Many platforms will have policies and procedures in place for when its providers are allowed to remove a user's content or deactivate a user's account if found in violation. However, this is solely at the discretion of the social media company. Many times you will hear of news of someone complaining that inappropriate content was not taken down quickly enough or has caused or damaged the reputation of someone or something. This content and repercussions can have lasting, damaging effects on persons and businesses. However, legislators can find it difficult to enforce administration for the fear of infringement of rights, such as freedom of speech. Nonetheless, as we become dependent on this digital realm, we will start to see more legislation and regulation as its consequences see physical results. Influence from information on social media can have a profound effect within your physical life. What you read online does affect you in some way, whether that be consciously or not. And social influence can affect the way we approach situations, the way we view ourselves, or even the way we treat others based on what we've seen, heard, or read. Pew Research published a study in 2021 stating that about 1/3 of all Americans receive news updates via social media. I'm sure that percentage stays pretty close here in Cayman, with paper-based news taking a hit in 2020. Social media is full of information. Whether that information is based on facts or opinions becomes harder to decipher when reading an online post. There are many forms of news outlets online, and it can be difficult to keep track of the facts or premise. With more and more people looking online to find the latest updates on what's happening around them and around the world, the threat of hacktivism is also heightened. Declassified reports from the US National Intelligence Council speak to Russian state-sponsored groups' attempts to influence the 2020 presidential election, as well as the attempts to gain unauthorized access to elections infrastructure in 2016. Iran and China are also mentioned in the report, as well as several other foreign actors for attempts to influence the election outcome. In 2020, Facebook issued a statement regarding the company's action to curb these attempts by dismantling a network of fake Russian accounts from the platform. In a similar politically driven agenda, data from social media platform Parler was extracted and publicized to expose persons involved in the riot that took place at the US Capitol building in January 2021. Hacktivists can have many motives, but each one will think that their cause is righteous. The social implications and reputational damage that can result from a hacktivist attack are far-reaching. Social platforms and corporate businesses must ensure that they have protection mechanisms in place to circumvent these types of attacks, as well as protect their brand. Apart from malicious external threat actors, social media also imposes a higher level of insider threat. Unless the platform is one like LinkedIn, most employee social media accounts will not be shown to be connected to a business. However, your employees sometimes need to have access to sensitive data in order to perform their job functions. And that data can pretty easily be leaked in something such as a series of 280 character limit posts, and it would probably be difficult to track down or even become aware of, especially if the threat actor took steps to mask their identity. Here, again, the reputational damage can be most impactful. Alternatively, the breach could be unintentional. Social media encourages information sharing, but sometimes you can share a bit too much. Improper disclosure of financial data or simply overkill on posts can be damaging, just as damaging to your brand. Social media can also be a space useful to digital forensic investigators. With its myriad of data, and most of which being open source or publicly available, the evidence derived from these platforms can be very valuable. Tomorrow we'll be hearing from Mr. John Watson from the RCIPS Digital Forensics and Cybercrime Unit, and Mr. Watson helped me gain a deeper understanding of the considerations surrounding using social media data during investigations. So firstly, digital crimes can be categorized into two distinct areas. There's cyber-enabled crimes, or those where the computer is used during the act of the crime. Think of something like fraud. On the other hand, cyber-dependent crimes are those that can only be committed using a computer, such as data theft. Digital forensic investigations can be conducted to discover evidence in either case. However, the evidence is usually supplementary. There are many unclear lines that exist around data privacy issues and using social media data. However, evidence such as timestamps and GPS check-in locations can be helpful to a case when building a timeline for a crime, but these must be proven to be related. The check-in only means that the device was present, but evidence must be given to link the device, the event, and the person. The most recent and perhaps the most notable case within the Cayman Islands was the conviction of Freddie Diaz for child pornography charges. His defense was trying to prove that he was not the one downloading these images on his devices, and instead someone else had used his device to download them. RCIPS was alerted to the case by American law enforcement agencies, and here's a case where we can see multiple data sources being used to correlate that evidence. In fact, earlier this week, Cayman News Service reported that the Crown would seek a blanket ban for preventing Mr. Diaz from accessing the internet at all. It'll be interesting to watch this unfold as a person who made as for him, as a person who made a living from creating social media content. It must be noted, however, that in most digital forensic investigations, the victim of the crime is usually the one who has to make the report before investigative action can be taken. Other concerns around utilizing this type of data include knowledge and expense requirements. However, unfortunately, if you're ever hit by a major attack, many organizations will need to employ a cyber incident response company to assist in remediation and recovery efforts. These services can become very costly very quickly. The latest cost of a data breach report by IBM and the Ponemon Institute say the average cost has increased 10% from 2019 to US 4.24 million. Furthermore, we must also consider those ethical concerns. There are certain rules of engagement that must surround, for example, undercover police operations being conducted via social media, but also moral concerns regarding such operations will impact privacy concerns, as this surveillance is another gray area for authorities. Much like cyber trends, it's a constant game of playing catch up, and as we learn, we continue to learn more as we to best develop how to utilize social media data in investigations. So we're going to flip the switch a little and talk about the bright side of social media and how it can be beneficial to you. So we've spoken about social media being used as a way to access news. This can be beneficial to persons who aren't able to gather information via conventional methods, and perhaps people are now consuming more information without intentionally seeking out that information. Scrolling on social media can expose persons to new information and even new opportunities that may not have otherwise been discovered. Information is king, so take advantage of what you can, as long as you can, and as long as you can verify its accuracy to the appropriate extent. Of course, social networks are great for building social networks. We all have experience in the who you know circumstance. So social media is a great place for staying connected with persons all over the globe. We can create a space for bonding with persons we would not have otherwise been able to engage with, and you can create real relationships with social benefits. Social media platforms also create learning programs. LinkedIn Learning has become quite popular for quick courses on a variety of topics, including management skills, technical knowledge, or even basic Word and Excel training for beginners. Traditional classrooms can use social media benefits as well, such as for submitting coursework, maybe for like a video essay on Instagram or YouTube, and class discussion forums on spaces such as Twitter. There are positive lights that can blossom from these information hubs, so we should treat them just as they are. And now that we've heard me talk about all the considerations and implications that continue to grow around social media, what can we do about it? So these are a few tips from myself and Mr. Watson on how you can safeguard yourself within social media. So review your security profile settings regularly. Privacy policies and settings are always changing with every update, and be sure to double check what you're allowing on your profile every now and then. Sometimes something may be implicitly allowed until you manually turn it off. And of course, use protection mechanisms such as two-factor authentication and strong passwords for all accounts. Limit your exposure, limit your posts. Try not to delve too deep into the pressure of posting everything and anything that you find interesting. Keep some aspects of your life private. Companies should have policies around what can be shared on social media platforms, including an appropriate authorization procedure. Limit your personal information. This applies to both profile settings as well as in your posts. Try to limit personal details that can be used against you in social engineering attacks. Limit the amount of information that can be used to identify you, and be skeptical about when you're required to input any of that type of information. Do a quick check. Does the link look suspicious? Use techniques that you would sniff out for phishing. The same ones can be applied here. Interact only with familiar persons, and don't accept requests from persons that seem that they have a suspicious profile. Chances are your instincts are right, and people create fake profiles all the time for malicious tasks. You can also look into fraud detection services for companies, such as Netcraft or Castle, and this might be helpful to you and your business for potential pharming or other attacks that can harm the reputation of your business. And these are just some of my references. So in all, social media is a scary, comforting, sharing, exposing world. But it's here for the long run. So embrace it, adapt, or don't. Keep your business safe by practicing good hygiene and keep up to date with regulations. Protect yourselves and have fun.